What's up, fellow podcaster? In today's podcast interview breakdown, I'll be reacting to an interview with Eminem on Hotboxin with Mike Tyson. Here we go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to an On the Motherfucking Road Hotboxin. I'm Evan Britton.
And I'm Mike Tyson.
And we got motherfucking Eminem in the house.
Slim Shady in the house.
Yeah, you got Marshall right now.
Oh, no,
Shady's
Marshall.
like this on?
Yeah, it's
Are we
on. Yeah.
Okay. Yo, I'm so excited, man. I if I start getting weird, just stop me.
It's all good.
So I'm going to just stop it right there. When somebody goes in like that, I wouldn't say it's weird. It's just, I guess maybe to the average person, I don't know. Let me know in the comments section below. But he referred to himself as either you're getting Marshall right now and then Shady is somebody else. It's like, how do you distinguish between the two, and why are we getting Marshall right now versus Slim Shady or Eminem, or like what is the biggest, like what's the difference between the two, and how do you know which one to give? I don't know.
Good, man.
Weird is good on this show.
Okay.
Yeah, we get a little weird.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know we met at Kimmel, and I didn't get a chance to we didn't get a chance to talk, you know? I'm such a fucking huge fan.
Thank you.
I can't even
Thank you.
I feel like a kid right now, man. Like, this is crazy.
I remember I listened to your first album. It was a long time ago. It really didn't go nowhere, but
And real quick, I'm always curious at how they get together in the same room. From my understanding, Eminem does not do a lot of interviews. So I'm wondering why. You'll hear me say this if this is your first podcast interview breakdown. I'm always curious with these celebrity podcasts like Mike Tyson. Of course, he's a name, but it's like, why did he start the podcast, and why did he want to have Eminem on the podcast? What did he like? What was his initial thought? Like, what did he want to talk to Marshall about, and how did they get in touch? Obviously they're fans of each other. Was it over DM? Did you have your publicist do it? Did you have your agents connect you to it? Once again, from my understanding, Eminem is not the easiest person to get in contact with. So that's cool. Also, it's almost like they're starstruck by each other. And when I was interviewing celebrities on the red carpet, when I lived in Los Angeles, one of my questions was always like, do you ever get starstruck by somebody, and why? And Marshall just did that. Eminem was just like, oh man, I feel like a kid. It's like, well, why do you feel like a kid? What specific, like, is there a specific fight that you remember sitting watching as a kid? Like, what makes you one of Mike Tyson's biggest fans?
I listened to rap, and I heard you talk about cuss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the first album, I believe it was.
Yeah, man. I've seen like pretty much every documentary, every fight I've seen, like everything that's available. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm humbled right now. I feel like a kid again.
Why did you become who you were?
Why did I become who I was?
Yeah. Why would you want to do this?
So this is one of those things where it's like, I know what Mike's trying to ask him just to kind of get it started off, depending on how this podcast was chopped up. But like a first initial question is like, what, like, if you don't know me yet, I'm obsessed with the process. So it's like, what pulled you to hip hop and rap? When did you start rapping? When did you realize like, I kind of like this? Or when was your aha moment? But on a deeper level, once you got those answers, you'd be like, why do you create music? Has your deeper purpose of your why you make music change since you first started?
This,
I just loved hip hop growing up as a kid. I just, you know, it was like it spoke to me more than any other music I had ever heard before, you know, from early like Ice-T to Fat Boys, and then LL Cool J, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, and it just like, I don't know. It was like I didn't first I was a fan of the music, you know what I'm saying, before I even thought about rapping. LL Cool J was the one who made me like first start writing rhymes. And I was like 12, 13 maybe.
Have you told LL Cool J that? Because LL Cool J is LL Cool J. I wonder what his thought process would be if he just heard him say that. Like if somebody were to eventually come up to me and been like, Thomas, like you're the reason why I started interviewing people, or you're the reason why I started podcasting, or you are the reason for what I do, I would be like, that would hit me like a ton of bricks. So I'm wondering if LL Cool J knows it. Has he told him? And if he did tell him, how did he react? And what did he say?
And it sucked. You know, I wasn't good, but like I had to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. I gave it up for a little while. Then I started again back when I was like 15 and started being able to kind of put songs together. And then I just was like, I was never really good at much else, you know? So I don't know. Once I found out I was decent at something, I just kind of focused. And
when did you find out you were decent at it? Because a lot of these crafts can be learned, but this goes back to my first question, like your aha moment. And he's starting to go into the story here, and this is where you really got to listen. It's like, okay, well, how many raps did you have to write? Was it, and where were you when you did it? But yeah, what was that pivotal moment where you're like, I'm halfway decent at this, and now I'm going to go all in? Or when did you decide to go all in on this? Was it somebody's approval? Did you just have enough self-awareness? What was it?
Just, you know, went for it.
That's interesting, because I remember I was in a juvenile detention center, and we heard we heard Rappers Delight. We said, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
How could it be? Because we heard it in the streets in our neighborhood, but we never thought it'd be on the radio.
Yeah.
And it was on the radio. We were like, "What the hell was that?" And we were just all blown away to see that our music was being played on the radio.
Yeah.
You know.
How about the fact that Rappers Delight was like a seven some odd minute song?
Yeah.
And the radio played it. They played it from top to bottom. Like,
it was so popular. It was all off the hook.
Mm-hmm. And then Nucleus jam on it.
Jam on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Don't. Yeah.
That was like, I never really like got into rock and roll or R&B or blues or anything like that. I just like, I'd listen to songs on the radio or whatever my mom was listening to in the car, but once hip hop came along, I just felt like, man, this is like, I don't know, I just was all in.
Yeah, hip hop was I just can't even imagine it. It gave you pride.
Yeah.
You know, like us being like the prototype of hip hop. At the beginning of it, it gave us pride to know that our music, people talk the way we talk, was being on television, being on the radio and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gave us a lot of pride back then.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's just such a, if you think about like how hip hop from the start of it.
Well, I was there.
Yeah, and then it just like
police out in the front of every hip hop club. You got the whole New York police station out in front of the club.
Yeah.
It was just, and if you went to a hip hop club and you were marked, people say, "Oh, yes." Even in your neighborhood, hardcore bebop hip hop, and it's, what the fuck you fucking with those niggas for, Mike? That's what they used to say. What you fucking with them for? Even people in the neighborhood, what you fucking with them niggas for? But those was our people. All the criminals, the thieves, we all listened to hip hop. The money makers and everything, the killers, the robbers, all the fucking street urchins. We all listen to that. That's what we listen to. And as soon as we listen to, we enjoy it. But we surveying everything. We're looking at the people with the jewelry, the coats, the clothes, and looking nice, and then we're getting ready to get them after the club is over.
Yeah.
And that's just what hip hop was about. All the robbers and thieves were coming there, they enjoy the music, but after it was over, we going to rob.
Yeah.
And that's what hip hop was about.
Yeah. Once Breakin' came out, the movie Breakin', and then Crush Groove and Beat Street, man, it was like, it just put the whole culture of hip hop on the map in a place where you could see with the music. You know what I'm saying? You had the visual, and you had you know, graffiti.
You must say, "This is my way out." When you saw that, when you started getting good. You must say, "This is my way out."
When I started being able to put songs together, and I started like, you know, figuring out like, well, I might be almost as good as that rapper. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna keep going, and then I start, you know, I learned so much. Like I studied.
How old were you when that started?
Hip hop. The first time I heard anything, my Uncle Ronnie brought over a tape of the Breakin' soundtrack, and it had Reckless on it from Ice-T. Once upon a time, a DJ's task was just to play records. What more could you ask?
I know Colors.
Yeah. Colors was hard. My Uncle Ronnie started liking rap before I did, and then he kind of introduced me to it. And right around that time, I think the movie had just come out, and I saw the movie, and I was like, yo, I love it. And it just, I don't know, it just spoke to me in a way that no other music had spoke to me before.
I understand that.
How old were you when you first started putting it out there? Like started rapping or doing rap battles?
Well, I had a weird trajectory. Like I was afraid, like I was afraid early on, like 15, 16 years old. I was afraid that to go into any clubs or anything like that to say my raps because I felt like I wasn't good enough yet. So I had to get to a certain spot. And then I was trying to I was just making songs.
But see, and that's the thing, like what spot was that? Like you didn't feel good enough, and whether it's podcasting, rapping, I feel like he had a case of imposter syndrome, which is a real thing. And it's like we learn by our failures. So even though you were good enough, it's almost hard to think of him failing as good as he is now. But it's like when you were doing these rap battles, did you ever just get smoked where it was like, yeah, I mean, that's how I learn. Like I have to fall like straight on my face to learn. So did you have a fall on your face moment, or it's like, how do you learn to battle? And then when do you know like that you're good enough to go up against these people? And what happened? What was your first rap battle like? And once again, did you just get worked, or like how? And maybe since you were new to the rap world, like how long was it? Is like a respect? I don't know. I'm not big into that. Big into the rap and hip hop scene. So when you were doing this, did it take a while to gain the respect from others to see you do what you do?
And one day I got a call from my boy Proof, and he was like, yo, you need to come up to the hip hop shop. And I was like, what is the hip hop shop? And he's like, yo, just come to the hip hop shop, write something, come up here. And Proof, like, remember Proof, Nani? He ran shit in Detroit. We like, me and him came up together, and we came up rapping together, but he would kind of go do his own thing, and then I'd be working like at factories and stuff like that, and Proof was out there like on the grind, and he started making connections, and then he met Jay Dilla, Slum Village, and a lot of the early Detroit hip hop that was like exploding onto the scene. Like Proof was such a part of that, and I got a chance to, when I went to the hip hop shop, I was like, what the fuck? He was like, yo, I'll clear everybody out. I'll have like 10 people, right? And you rap in front of them, And if they don't like you, you know, they're gonna tell you they don't like you. if they do like you and they fuck with you, then you know. So I went there. I said the rap. I got some people jumping around and shit, and I was like, okay, this might be it for me. And then that's when we start having battles at the hip hop shop. And we was having like a battle every couple months or something. Yeah, every 2 or 3 months. But every Saturday, I would make sure that I didn't have to work till 4 o'clock because I was going to the hip hop shop every Saturday. So every Saturday for me was, and this is early 20s, was St. Andrews Hall on Friday night. Saturday, hip hop shop. Tuesday, Ebony Showcase. And then
anybody that knows Showcase, he's a fuck. I gotta battle him tonight. He's here.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. I started battling, and then in the hip hop shop, the first battle that we had there, I won it. But what we was doing, Proof was taking names and he was putting them in a hat. Like if you want to sign up to battle, you just put your name in the hat. He picks a name, picks another name. So it'd be like Bizarre versus B Flat, and then they go at it, and it was, you know, and then me versus whoever.
So what he's describing is 8 Mile, and it's like, okay, well, it sounds very 8 Mile-esque. How accurate was that movie to what you're talking about right now? Is this kind of the same thing, and then Hollywood took it for a spin? But either that's like a, depending on what he responded with, that's like a 2-parter, because it's like, it sounds like 8 Mile. So and how accurate was the movie is what I'm trying to say.
I remember one time I battled Conniver, who was in my group D12, but we weren't a group yet. I battled, Vaughn, and then I just started like, I met a few people that got me out of just Detroit, and I went to like 97 Scribble Jam, and I went all the way to the end, and then I lost to this guy named Juice, who to this day is still a really good fucking rapper. And I think that he's so good that it's okay that I lost to him. You know what I'm saying? But
is he still in Detroit rapping?
How do you know you lost? Like, was it one of those things, once again, not to go back to 8 Mile, but it's like you knew watching it who won without applause, without anything else. So is it one of those things where you barely lost, or did you lose? And do you remember what you guys were rapping about? Like, I know it was a long time ago, but is it one of those moments that just stuck with you your entire life? And he said he's still a good rapper, so obviously he knows who he is. Do they still connect? Are they friends? Does he help him out in the industry? Does he mentor him at all? I don't know.
No, this was Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Scribble Jam was in Cincinnati. That was 97. And then from there I met Wendy Day, and she put me on her battle team. She had this battle team that was an event in LA called the Rap Olympics. And she put me on that team. I went out to LA.
What do you win in the rap Olympics? Obviously they're not doing medals, or maybe they did plaques. Like, what is there, a first, second, third? Is there, like, how does it go? Do you guys use brackets to see who's battling what? How many teams were there? What was your team called? Did you start off with one name and then it evolved into the other? Like, that happens with a lot of bands that I've interviewed. It's like, this is what we were when we started, but now we're this. So, yeah. Oh, and how were the female, were there a lot of female rappers, and did they just, I didn't know, like, would they just go up against the dudes, or would they just do girl versus girl? How was that structured?
And then got in that battle at the Rap Olympics, went all the way to the end and lost again. The last dude. And I was like super discouraged. I just got evicted from my house. Had to break in through the back of the house. The dude that we was paying rent to, he wasn't paying the rent with it. So one day this is literally the day before I go to the Rap Olympics and thank God for Wendy Day, man, because she paid for my plane ticket. But that day, we're like, what the I come home from work, me and my boy, and we're like, what the fuck? All our shit is on the lawn.
I know that very well.
So, yeah, so.
Did you ever pay back? Did he say Wendy Day? Did you ever pay her back for that plane ticket? Not that it matters. I'm just curious. And then what was the first initial to go back to what he's talking about? What was the first initial reaction when you saw your stuff on the front lawn? And how did you handle the landlord as far as you were paying him rent and then he wasn't paying the actual rent? So did you guys deal with him, or what kind of conversation did you guys have?
And the eviction, man, and they decorated your fucking lawn with your furniture.
Yeah, and people was rummaging through it and
you gotta
shit.
wait outside for nobody to take your shit.
Yeah, yep. So that happened, and then I had to break into the back because I had nowhere to stay. So I had to break into the house through the back window, which was my old window. Broke in, slept on the floor, got up the next day, went to the Rap Olympics, and by the first prize was $500, and I needed that $500, man, and I lost. And I was like, I was fucking devastated. And then this kid.
Sorry to interrupt, but I wonder, since you needed that $500, do you feel like that's why you lost? Is because the whole time you're thinking, I gotta win. I need this 500. I gotta win. I need this 500. Like that pressure, did it cloud your judgment? So it'd be interesting to see if he said, if it did, yeah, but if not, then it's like, do you thrive off of that pressure?
Dean Geislinger walks up to me and he's like, yo, man, you got one of those CDs? And I was like, yeah. And I kind of just tossed it to him, right? And didn't think nothing of it. I didn't know that Dean worked with Jimmy Iovine. Mm-hmm. So he gave it to Jimmy gave it to Dre, and I'm back in Detroit now, fucked, right? I have nothing, like nowhere to go.
What was on that CD? How many tracks? Was it professionally recorded? Where was it recorded? Was it did it sound like a crappy mixtape? And when you tossed it to him, do you guys still talk about that moment? And if you did, what was it? Did you ask Jimmy maybe before what was it about your CD that was so good that motivated him to give it to Dre? Was it a specific song? Was it just your tone? What was it exactly?
And I get the call and I'm like, oh shit, this is about to happen.
Wow.
What would you talks about getting the call? Who called you? What did they say? Was it on a cell phone? Was it on a landline? Like, walk us through that moment. Is that moment permanently seared in your head? Like, what did he say? Did you know it was him? Did Dr. Dre called you? Did you think they were prank calling you? How long was the phone call? Do you remember it like it was yesterday? Stuff like that.
It was fast.
Didn't seem fast, did it, to you, huh?
Nah, I did not.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, but I just gotta say, like, I bro, you are like a god to me. Like, bro, you've done so much in your life, man. It's like just so crazy to be the heavyweight champion at 20 years old.
Well, you're not chopped liver yourself.
I'm just saying. Well, I'm saying though, but I'm just saying, man. Like I don't know. It takes a lot to be the champ. Like it.
So this is interesting, and I can't remember if I've already mentioned this before, but when he asked, and by the way, I think they edited this a little bit because it went from talking about him being signed with Dre to this. So I wonder if he went into the story and they edited it out, because this is just one of those shifts. And if not, this is what I see a lot of passionate podcast. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I do see passionate podcasters making, is there's just no structure. So it's supposed to be like a roller coaster. There's supposed to be like a flow, and it just seems like it's just asking questions, which is fine. That's fine. But if that wasn't edited, that's such a shift. And I feel like he missed like a lot of the good come up stuff that maybe he hasn't even talked about before. But to go back to Eminem's question, back to Tyson, he said he was a god to him. And Tyson, didn't react at all. No eyes opening, no just like, feeling. And it is called hotboxing, so maybe he's stoned. I don't know if that's how he is high. I don't know. Don't care. But it's just that if I was a moderator or just sitting off to the side like those two guys in the background, it's like, Mike, he just told you that you were a god to him. Like, how does that make you feel? Like, what? Like, does that tug anything? Is it? And, I don't know. And then he threw it back. He's very humble because he threw it back to Eminem. He's like, you're not chopped liver either. And for Eminem to hear that from somebody who he considers like a god to him, how did that make you feel when he said that to you? Like, he idolized you. He likes your music. Did you ever think somebody like this would say that to you? How many times do you hear it and it just kind of goes in one ear out the other? Because I'm sure you've been hearing it for years, but for somebody you look up to so much to say that to you, I know that's just like a next level of, you just made my day.
It takes a lot. And I remember seeing the first couple fights when I was younger, when you were first starting to really pop. I had heard about, you seen this guy Mike Tyson? Man, he's knocking motherfuckers out in 10 seconds. And the first fight I saw was which one was the first fight I saw? I think it was with Trevor Burbank.
86, something like that.
And man, you knocked him down 3 times with one punch. I was like, what the fuck? And ever since then, it was like, when you fight, somebody's getting knocked out. It's just a matter of what round.
And I know nothing about, I'm not huge into the boxing community. So if you're watching this and you know a lot about Tyson, please let me know in the comments below. But with Tyson, he's known for that, right? He's known for his power. So it's like, when did he figure out he had that power? Was it in the streets? Was it like at some point, like, I feel like if you hit somebody and you knew you had the power and people are like freaking out on how much power is actually there, like, when did you realize you could do this? And then it's like, because I know Kimbo Slice got really famous on YouTube for doing these backyard brawls, and he was just this huge dude, and he, like, you knew he was a brawler and he had the power. Was it like that? Did you know? And then it's like, how, when you figured out that you had knockout power, were people scared of you? And then it's like, how did you get into, like, how did that how do you go from street fighting to professional boxing?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
it comes from humble beginnings. I had to, in order to be the champ, I had to get beaten a couple of times.
Yeah.
I had to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, boxing is hard, man. It's hard. Like, I've been boxing for like 13 years, just sparring, just messing around. I mess around with Emmanuel Stewart.
And he was the best.
Yeah.
He was the best.
Yeah, man.
He had all the champions back then.
Yeah.
Kronk Gym was just so fucking, man, everybody was coming down here to see the fighters and stuff.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Lewis had all the celebrities coming down. He was the man back then.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he was such a nice dude, and he would come over. He'd come over to my house, and we spar like twice a week. He'd bring his boxers from the Kronk Gym.
Ooh. I know.
And
Ricky Womack, yeah, they were really great fighters.
this was.
I remember the amateurs when we were fighting for the Olympics. Those guys.
This is such a great conversation. This is one thing that I mention in all of my podcast interview breakdowns. Yeah, I could sit here and nitpick these guys for not having enough structure or their audio's off or just like technical aspects of interviewing is off, whatever. But this is a type of conversation that I would love to have with each and every one of these guys, Eminem and Tyson. But to get them on such like a comfortable level, like these guys are just two A-list celebrities in their field, and they are just having just a solid, comfortable conversation that I might not be able to get out of Eminem or get out of Tyson, because to them, I'm a nobody. Yeah, I've got 10 years of experience. I've been in broadcasting for 10 years. I've interviewed almost every celebrity that exists. I have all this experience, done at least 5,000 interviews, could give all the tips in the world. But that's one thing I cannot do is I'm not, maybe if I was, maybe if I was at Seacrest level, I feel like there's like this unspoken respect thing to open up. But this is when, if you are a podcaster and you are interviewing high profile people or regular people for that matter, you want to be able to do your research and almost make it so like almost bring up things that you kind of had to dig for to show that you did the research. It's kind of like a job interview, right? If they ask you, oh, what did you like about our company? And you didn't do any research on the company. And now you're just like, I like that you guys are team oriented or something like that. But yeah, but it's really cool to see that just like the respect level that these guys have for each other. And I mean, the thing I'm about to say now is, with all due respect, I don't know who these other guys are in the background. I think one guy is with Eminem, the other guy is with Tyson. I don't know if they're there to just kind of like move the conversation along as moderators or as like a producer or whatever. I just don't think they should be there. This almost looks like they're in what it was, like not a trailer, but like an RV or something like that, kind of like a Steve-O's Wild Ride thing. And maybe they're just there to do, I don't know, but with these two big celebrities like this, it should just be those two, because that is the focus, and they're having this great conversation, and these guys just sitting there, they're not really adding anything to it, which is fine. But I think it would have more of a oomph if it was just these two on camera.
That's a really great fight.
Yeah, man. And Emmanuel was like, this was like 12, 13 years ago, right? So he would come over, he would show me the basics, and it took a lot for me to look. It took a long fucking time for me to just learn the basics, right? So then he started like after a couple months of us doing it, and they were just like, up and coming kids and stuff like that would, and just, you want to spar with M, and they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So I got a funny little story. So he's bringing his boxers, and we're probably like 6 months in, and he's bringing his boxers like every week, right? And I'm getting my ass whipped, but I'm staying with him, right? I'm getting some good hits in. I feel a little bit good about myself. So one day he comes over and he brings his boxer from Crunk, and I'm in the house, and I remember like I was on the phone or something. So when I came out, the dude that he brought had his headgear on, right? And and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess he's ready. So I put my strap on, my headgear, and we're going at it, and he kicked the shit out of me. Fucked me up. So after we're done, we go like 3 rounds, right? I don't think I got one hit in. After 3 rounds, he takes off his fucking headgear. And I said, man, how old are you? He said, 14. I was like, man, I fucking quit. I'm done.
Is there video of this? Not from like, oh, I want to see Eminem get his butt whooped, but like I mean, it's a simple question. Like, is there video, and how did you feel about, like, how bad, first of all, how bad was it? Like, was he just ripping combos, like hitting you with uppercuts? Was it everything? And you would swing and you just could, like you said you couldn't hit him, but I mean, what were you throwing at him? And then when you found out that he was 14, like, what kind of went through your head? Were you just like, oh man? And then it's like, did you keep training with him? Do you guys still stay in contact to this day? Is there, since you've been training a while, is there going to be a rematch?
Yeah, man.
It's funny when you say that, because some fighters just they mature real early. They may at 14, 15, they may be the best they ever been, and they're not good anymore.
Yeah.
That's just how it is in life with people. They mature. They peak at a certain age. I peaked at like in my 20s and stuff.
But how does that work? I just think, like, I get the peak of a boxer, but if you peak at a certain age, I guess I don't understand. And it'd be like, Mike, can you please explain to somebody who has no boxing experience whatsoever, like, how does a fighter peak? How do you know when the fighter peaks? And it's like, I thought if he peaked at 14, you would just get better and better and better because you're training and getting experience. Or do you just plateau? Like, how does that work, especially with boxers being so dedicated and putting so many hours in and getting those reps in? How is that possible to peak as a boxer?
Some people peak in their 30s. Some people peak in their teens. It's just weird.
I feel like if you hit me, I would probably die. Like right now. Like I still feel like you could get in there and just fuck people up.
Wow, listen, you feel that way, and I don't even have that in me anymore. I don't even have the mentality to feel like I have to fucking kill everybody's family and stuff. I still have that.
Yeah, but I mean, I still feel like you still look like you could punch a fucking brick wall and put a hole in that bitch.
Yeah.
And it's so funny he said that, because if I was trying to get Mike Tyson's attention, I remember a long time I used to do a show with my roommate, and Ronda Rousey was like big, like her whole debut was in the UFC. And I told the camera that, like, to get a date with her or something, I'd just let her or just punch me in the face as hard as she could with the glove on, obviously, just to see. Now, I don't know if I would say this if I was trying to get Mike Tyson on my podcast, probably wouldn't ask him to punch me, but to get his attention, that I would, for a second, think of something very similar to that, of him doing it. And for Mike, it's like, I don't know if you got, and there's only a certain amount of people who are going to get this reference. There's a movie called Rookie of the Year where the kid breaks his arm, or it's like he's a baseball player. He throws average, whatever. He breaks his arm. All of a sudden he can throw 100 miles an hour, but then he loses it and he knows he lost it. I would ask Mike, because Eminem is just sitting there saying, like, you still could punt, like, for you to be as old as you are, whatever, you still got the power to go through a wall. How do you know if you lost it or not? Like, do you just feel like that power isn't there? And is that just your opinion? Because I feel like if he caught you, as somebody who's got that power, I feel like you don't lose it. Or it's like, do you lose that type of power? But it's like the big thing is like, do you know that you could still hit that hard?
Yeah.
I saw recently, Nani was showing me a video you did where you was just fucking around and you was trying to show these dudes how to.
I think it was a body punch or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how you jump to the side real quick, jump to the other side. Like, man, he could get in there right now and fuck up anybody.
Well, because with a lot of people, you say, Mike, let's fight. He just believe that, you can fight at any age fighting. Fighting, yes, you can do forever if you have the desire to do it. Fighting's all about spirit. If you want to do it, you can do it at any age.
Yeah. But it's like, but nobody knocked people out in the way that you did. Like, people got knocked out by other fighters, but it was like, when they got knocked out by you, they got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it. Every time I hurt somebody and knocked them out, my life gets better.
Yeah.
My life gets better and gets better. And so I love hurting people now.
Yeah.
Because my life is getting better and I'm getting the fucking girl, I'm getting the mansion, I'm getting the planes, I'm getting the boats, I'm getting whatever I want. So hurting is beautiful. And my perception of my life at the time.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was your perception at the time? And what is your perception now?
But it's like to be a fighter though, it's like it takes a special kind of person, it takes a special kind of commitment. You know what I'm saying?
Commitment is it's almost like you almost have to give your happiness up to accomplish your goals.
Right.
Cause you're gonna when you do in anything, if you want to be the best garbage can collector in the world, anytime you want to be the best in the world at anything, there's gonna be disappointment.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a lot of competition. And there's going to be guys that peak at younger age that he's going to blow you away when he's a kid. And then you're going to deal with a guy that blows you away when he's an old guy.
Yeah.
And then it's going to come to time when you're experienced enough, the next thing you know, you start blowing everybody else. Everybody gets their turn.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what it is. Everybody gets their turn.
Yeah, but it's like, you're right though. Because like for me, rap is like a 24/7 job, and it takes a lot of dedication, right? And you to stay sharp with the pen and stuff like that. But it's a different kind of discipline to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the balls to get in the ring and fight in the first place.
Listen, you know why I used to love anybody that gets in the fucking ring? Because you just think about it. As human beings, what fighters do, we avoid all of our life. Getting into a fight. And that's what a guy does every day of his life. He fights every day of his life, and we avoid that shit.
Yeah.
It's humiliating if you're not on the right side, and if you don't know how to fight and then you still win, it's humiliating.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get hurt. You know,
right.
So people avoid fighting. You know, it's not normal. People are not supposed to fight. People are not structured to fight. Our hands are not developed to fight. Even for boxers, they break. That's why we have to wrap them up and everything. We just not, human beings are not designed to fight.
Yeah.
But we do it all, it's just part of our DNA. To kill one another is just DNA, who we are. It's part of our, any form of murder is a form of self-hate.
Yeah.
You know? When you kill another person and stuff, it's you reflecting on yourself, how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. It's interesting though, it's like, you know, boxing is just like coming up when I was a kid, I got my ass kicked a lot. I fought, I lost, I fought, I won. You know what I'm saying? And there was a point in time where I started getting in enough fights and winning enough fights that I felt confident until I started learning some of the fundamentals of boxing. And I'm like, I don't know shit. I know nothing. Like,
listen, we all believe in here that if you get involved with boxing, it's a tough man sport. Boxing's not a tough man sport. A tough guy's going to get hurt in boxing. He's going to talk funny at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No one's going to understand him. This is a thinking man sport. Only the smartest win.
Yeah.
When you get a certain level, only the smartest win. A tough guy is not, this is not a tough man sport.
Yeah. No, look, man, I also know you got a heart. So it's like, you fuck somebody up and then feel bad later.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, because you'd be nice to him after the fight. Like, I hate you during this fight, and then I don't hate you anymore, and I actually feel bad because you might die now.
That's who we are. That's that's our fear.
Yeah.
We're like that. We're vicious. We're ferocious because of the fact that we lost before and we've been disappointed before. We don't want that feeling anymore.
I would ask Mike or Mr. Tyson if he ever felt bad for really hurting somebody in his entire career, and if he did, like, do you apologize? Do you like just make sure they're doing okay? Be like, hey man, good fight. Like, sorry I hurt you that bad. Like, what do you apologize, or is it just like a known thing with fighters that you just don't do that sort of thing?
Yeah.
The thought that we got to go back to Brownsville, you have to go back to 7 Mile, that fucking fear. That's our biggest fear, to go back where we started.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Subconsciously, that's our biggest fear.
Yep.
And have to see those people who we grew up with and say, hey, I made it, and I fucked up, I'm back here with these people.
Yeah.
this actually what he just said just hit home, because if this is your first time watching, and these breakdowns can get super long, but if you have made it to this part, a little bit about me, I talk in my podcast, but I had spent my entire life, like the 10 years of broadcasting up to that, to get into news so I could get into entertainment news, to get my dream job at E, to interview celebrities on the red carpet. And I got there. I didn't get to E, but I was working at Fox in the entertainment division, interviewing on the red carpet. Everything was great. But I don't know. It's a super long story, but I grew to hate it. And I was like, this is not what I signed up for. Because when you hang out in a industry, no matter what it is, you find out things that a lot of people don't know. So I left LA and I had to move back. And it was like a soul crushing moment, because you feel like you're starting all over, and everything you've just worked for. You've been traveling the country for 10 years. You finally got your dream job. People are like, oh my God, you're in LA. This is awesome. And to have to start completely over is such an ego blow. And then even mixed with like really letting it go, like letting my agents go, like this is not what I want to do anymore, is a very humbling moment. So it's just oddly that I'm a little shocked he just said that.
Milton Berle used to say, I had lost a fight and I was depressed, and Milton Berle said, what the hell are you depressed for? You know, doing bad is going back to Brownsville. you made $30 million. Why are you depressed?
Yeah.
He's old Jewish guy, these vaudevillian guys can't understand why these guys lose a fight for $30 million or $20 million and now he's crying.
Yeah.
He just couldn't understand. He said, if I want to watch, he never went to the fight. He said, if I want to watch two millionaires fight, I used to get out of my house in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
They were fighting all the time.
Right.
Hey, but I want to tell you said we really entertained your immersion in rap. We thought that was beautiful. Everybody, all nationalities and everything. We had to say you were the best. You put it down. We watch you battle. We watch you not battle them, but we watch you compared with the best. We watch you do songs with Jay-Z. We watch you do all those guys, and you got really ill.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. One.
And it's like, Mike, when you were watching Eminem, was there a specific moment or thing that you saw, whether it was on TV, radio, where you're like, damn, this guy is legit?
So he said, yeah, you saw me before. I didn't have all these swords before. But you say you had armed with these guns and swords before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you met me before. Oh,
yeah, you didn't have all these guns and swords before.
Yeah, I didn't have all these arsenal of weapons before.
Yeah.
Marshall will step in the door. Yeah. That was the Biggie song. Yeah.
Yeah, you fucking... Listen, are you conscious that you know you're rapping like J and B, you know you got to blaze, right? You know you got to put it down, because if you don't put it down, people going to say, oh, nigga, he shitted on you.
I mean, that's how I feel anytime I get on a song with anybody. It's like, man, if I don't try to, like, I have to, you know, just having that hunger still and trying to, like you said, it's not about the money all the time, right? So it's like when you lose a fight and you get depressed, it's because your competitive nature and your competitive spirit is wounded, right? Because
it's the reason that we started doing this. Because we're not good enough. It goes in your mind. Yep. We're not good enough. Yep. He's better than me, and it fucking kills you.
Yep.
So there's a few things to unpack here. You talk about it's not always about the money, but is that completely true, especially when you're on the come up and you are broke and all your stuff's on the lawn? Like, yeah, you're talented and that's something you do, but it kind of is about the money for a while. And correct me if I'm wrong. And did it like, when did it change? What was that first paycheck like where you were like, okay, now I don't have to be breaking into houses and sleeping on floors? Like, when was that moment? And they also talked about working with different rap artists. And earlier in the interview, he talked about hip hop and rap always pulled to him. He was never into like rock and roll and stuff like that. But what about now, where a lot of these genres, especially rap and hip hop, are crossing paths with country, trap? Like, is there anybody is there a genre that you would like to cross-pollinate with, or did you specifically want to kind of stay in your lane and stay on brand?
It's better than you, and you believe in your head that you're God or you're the best or whatever you believe you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, man. Yo, you was dope in The Hangover.
Hey, listen, man, I was just very happy to do that. I was like 280 pounds. I was on cocaine. I was just doing. I had my prostitute girlfriends at the fucking and this. What is this? The trailer with me. I was just living a fucking life back then. Listen. When I did The Hangover, I didn't know. I went to the club, and the clubs in Vegas, they let me in all the private, And so when I went in this private spot, I saw these white people in these white crew, and I was looking at these people. But then I saw those two girls. What's those two girls? The two twins. What's their name?
Oh,
they're
I
really
forgot.
rich. The Owen. What's the?
Owen twins?
Olsen twins.
Olsen twins.
So
Yeah.
I saw the two. I saw one of the Olsen twins with these guys, and I'm in it's just open. It's closed to them, and then the bodyguard let me in. The bodyguard for the club, because he knows me all the time. I always give him money, and he lets me in, and we're chilling and stuff. We're coked up and we're drinking, and then they look at me and somebody comes over and says, "Hey, we're doing a movie with you in 2 weeks. We're doing a movie with you." I said, "When?" He said, "In 2 weeks." I said, "Fuck, I didn't know that."
What the fuck?
Yeah, I said, "Fuck, I didn't know that." And so I'm on this movie, I'm doing this set and stuff, and I'm just a mess back then. So I do this movie, and I don't think this movie is shit. I'm high all the time. And then I'm in a restaurant. I come out the restaurant, you see one of those buses, the tour bus. They see me, they must have went to the movie and saw the preview because the movie wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
And then when they saw me, it must have been like 30, they all got off the bus and said, "We love you, we saw you in the movie." And then my friend Zip, who's no longer with us, he said, "Hey, we got something here, we're back." We're back.
Yeah.
So this goes to what I was saying earlier about opening up to each other, since they're both on like a level playing field. That story about him being coked up, I know he talks about being on cocaine a lot. I have never heard him tell this story specifically, but that's what I'm saying. Like that, unless you knew about that or kind of like hinted around that story, I don't think he would have told that story. So that is something that I would have an extremely hard thing doing, because he doesn't trust me like he trusts Marshall.
Yeah, and then that's been a rap ever since. And Todd Phillips been my friend. And I was out in the club. I don't know what club I was at, but it was a movie theater. And I went there, and everybody was all over me. And the guy that produced Hangover, Todd Phillips, who did the Joker, he looked and he said, "Listen, I feel proud because I feel I'm a part of this." Because he saw everybody coming up to me. He said, "I feel like I'm a part of this." That, he was proud that everybody was coming up to me. And then next thing you know, he was, I can't even tell you what we're doing next, but anything. It's just, we became good friends.
That's dope.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, it's dope too, because like I was like, holy shit, Mike can act. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then seeing the Undisputed, man, and hearing you tell them stories that I'm like, I so want to know about this.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Everybody knew the story, but they didn't know the underlying behind the story. Why did I do that?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Getting ready to do round 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, the round 2 is so much better than round 1. We did this all. Listen, this is really interesting. How do you do this? I knew you had to. So I'm on the show and I said good night, and there's 4,000 people. And when I say good night in Toronto, they all get up and they come to the stage. And they just want to touch me, and I don't know what to do. The security's not doing nothing.
Right.
I don't want these people to think I'm scared and run off. I want to run, but so I just get caught in it. It was just overwhelming and shit that people think that way about you. And in my mind, I always had a low self-esteem. I said, if these people think much about me, they must not be shit. You know what I mean?
This kind of goes back now. I don't know if this has been edited out, because once again, they're kind of going all over the place. They were talking about being on The Hangover, and then they just shifted to if I understood correctly, I think he was asking him what it's like if he's performing and then all the people who went to come and see you rush the stage or just like sit around and wait for you to maybe come back out, is what I got from that. If that's not what you got, please comment below. But it was just like an odd shift. So I'd like to know if that was an edit or not. And then because they were talking about The Hangover, him being in The Hangover in the movie, it would almost be like, okay, well, what was it? That would be a good segue into talking to Marshall about 8 Mile and how it changed things. That you have more people. I mean, you were already known by then, but did that movie was that like strapping on a supercharger? Like, did more fans start recognizing you, or did your fan base just skyrocket? Did you have more people coming up to you? He's a pretty private person. So like basically all what they're talking about with Mike, you could just segue it really nice into Marshall. So it's not like almost like conversation ping pong going back and forth.
Why would you think about me? Because I don't think I'm shit.
Yeah.
You know?
I went through a lot of that shit too, growing up as a kid, and just feeling like I wasn't good enough for anything. Like, whatever I did, I just wasn't good enough. And, yeah, man, it's a psychological thing, I think, that once you... For anybody who doesn't who feels like that, right? Like, I just feel like I'm worthless. I'm not nothing in this world. Anybody who feels that and then finds something that they're actually good at, it's like I think that's what makes somebody go for that so hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm never.
He talks about feeling worthless. I know when I was in Hollywood, I felt like that. And I wonder, even at the level, this would be a question for Mike and Marshall. It's like, do you, at this point in your career, do you ever feel worthless? And if so, why? Is it imposter syndrome? Is it analysis paralysis? Like, what is it that makes you feel like that? What do you do when you start feeling like that? Do you have somebody you call? Do you call Dre? Do you call your trainer? Do you have a therapist? What? How do you get out of it as a creative? All right, that does it for this podcast interview breakdown. But before you go, if this is your first time on this channel, my goal is to help podcasters like yourself become the authority in their niche with podcast interviews. So if you have a podcast or you're thinking about starting one shortly, this free download is for you. It's a list of my top 25 podcast interview questions that I use to make me sound like a professional, and it gives me the ability to get those golden nugget sound bites so you can double your downloads and turn your listeners into leads. The link for this is in the description, and we'll see you next time.